Okay, welcome everybody. On this episode of the ACSELL Cast, we are speaking with Janus Laust Thomsen to talk about their good practice in the region of northern Denmark, where they operate a living lab for and in a general practice. We cover how the good practice came to be and what your region and other listeners can learn from the work they have done. And here's the episode. Janus, it's great to have you with us. Lucky us, we were able to travel to northern Denmark, to the beautiful city of Aalborg, and you were so kind to show us and to gave us a tour around the premises, and we actually, lucky us, were able to see the general practice and your living lab. So it's great to have you with us. I know you've got a great experience and a lot of expertise regarding the area of health and care innovation, especially with this focus on general practitioners and the demand-driven, user-centered involvement of GPs in innovation process. So welcome, and it's great to have you with us. To start with, and since I know you, but maybe there are some listeners out there that do not know you yet. I would like to briefly ask you to introduce yourself real quick to the audience. So, who are you, and what do you do?
Thank you very much, Daniel, and thank you for the opportunity to participate in this postcard. I'm Janus Laust Thomsen, and I'm a professor in general practice and head of a research unit for general practice at Aalborg University. And then I'm a general practitioner by background and still part-time in general practice. And for 12 years, I have been owning my own practice but right now I'm more focused in research and implementation of new ideas, but still part-time in general practice.
Yeah, that's good to hear, and probably it's also good to keep that contact. Obviously, I mean, I think this is what researchers or innovators I think are eager to not just analyze from an outside perspective, but also constantly somehow keeping the contact with the real world, right, and not just the ivory tower. So I admire that very much. So great to have you with us, Janos. So maybe since I was mentioning the living lab in a general practice already, it would be nice and hopefully helpful for everybody to understand a little bit the context in which the good practice evolved. So maybe we can start with the challenge or the problem you try to solve with your good practice with a living lab in a general practice. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit on those problems you were trying to solve, and how did your good practice start to form?
Yes, and you started out by expressing this very important link between clinicians and researchers, and that was actually one of the starting points. Uh, it was the former leader of the research unit, Martin Bach Jensen, who's also a professor and a colleague of mine right now. His idea was to have a living lab very close to general practice, to facilitate the ideas coming in from general practice and implementing the research that we are doing here in the region. So both getting ideas in from general practice, but also a platform to test new ideas and test how could we implement what we find during the research that we are working with. And another issues that we are trying to solve with this living lab is that in the northern part of Denmark, we have a lack of young doctors. So we would like to have a place where the academia goes close into the clinic, and this will serve to recruit and retain young doctors in a remote area, because the living lab is not close to the university in Aalborg, but is located a bit away, around 50 kilometers away. So it should be a center where we could have education for young doctors as well. And then a third thing is facilitating recruitment of general practitioners to participate in research projects, but also patients. It's always hard to get out into a normal clinical setting to recruit general practitioners and recruit patients for research projects. So we had several good ideas behind making a living lab, and it was a cornerstone for us that it should be very close to the daily clinical work in general practice.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you so much. So I think it's also smart to combine the research aspect also in yeah, let's say applied recruitment, because I guess a lot of regions are facing the same issues of lack of staff, and especially in the rural areas. I know it here in the state of Baden-Württemberg, we are facing the same problems that the GPs owners are getting older, and yeah, there's a lack of younger doctors that are willing to start their own practice, and it's hard to reach out to them and to convince them. So I think that's good to connect this kind with a topic of innovation as well, and to yeah, to bring them into research polcos, research projects, and looking a little bit into the future. So that's, I think, very smart. Um, Maybe at the very end, if you start something new, an innovation, it at the end it comes to resources. Obviously, you need someone that obviously has the spirit and the means to start that journey. But besides the personal, the characters you need. So what kind of resources out of your experience are um, yeah, needed to start something like your good practice? So what is key?
Yes, and you pointed out, Daniel, the very most important thing is that you need a driver, one who's really willing to push this forward. And we were lucky to have Martin, who was really trying to connect people to make this initiative work. So for a start, you need a person or a group of persons who's really willing to go extra few steps to make this work. When you have this group, it's very important to have a collaboration. So in our regions, we had the collaboration with the region North Denmark, who is responsible for the healthcare in the primary sector, not only in the primary sector, but in all of the healthcare sector. So, and then we had a very good collaboration with the university as well. So bringing in both the university and the region North Denmark, we have very strong support in starting to create this living lab, and could start to state our plans and have meetings and trying to convince people why we think this would be a good idea. And as you mentioned, especially among recruiting and retraining doctors in remote areas, they could see a high need for this, and they also very much bought into the idea that bringing academia and research project into the rural area, that would be helpful in many ways, and also from the university point of view in recruiting patients and general practitioners to participate into research projects. So they really bought into the idea, and they have been the ones giving the support for this idea to evolve from just being an idea to being actually a living lab. So the region has supported the location, and it was important that the location was close to a working general practice. So, but have not only supported that we could start up, but also continues to support for the rent. And the municipality has been helpful with staff for cleaning, and the university has supported with the IT facilities and the web links and the security around it. So and then of course, when being close to a clinic, we can collaborate with the staff in the clinic. And we are so lucky that Martin, it's the clinic that he's working in. He's part-time at general practitioners as well, and then we can use the resources from the research unit where Martin is working as well. So we can put in our research resources to make the projects work, and then we can bring in funding uh, to have the persons working around the research projects. So a very good collaboration is important in bringing the idea forward and making it work.
Excellent. Yeah. And what I really also like about your concept is that, of course, as you said, I mean, you need backing by the university. You get support, not just intellectual report support, but also, resources by the university staff, etc. But that you are not on the premises of the university. I think that's you're not on the campus, but instead you are really in a residential area, in a let's say maybe you can explain a little bit where you are actually located. So the GP is in a kind of a, how do you say that, in a community center, right?
Yeah, in Denmark, a lot of the DPs are located in a community center, or have facilities close to the community center. And in Sæby, which is the name of the small town where the living lab and the DP is located, it's located around the facilities of the municipality for healthcare promotions and so on. So we are trying to make, even though it's separate parts, they are working together to be a community center. So and I think that's it's important as well to have this close connection. Also in the daily clinical work for the general practitioners, it's very nice to be close to the workers from the municipalities. And as a researcher, it's very good to have these capacities around as well. A lot of the research, at least in our unit, involves the organization and the transsectoral flow of patients. So patient flows are some of the things that we would like to study and maybe organize in a better way, because a lot of the difficulties arise in the patient journeys arises when you have to shift sectors between primary care, secondary care, and municipalities, which in Denmark is healthcare promotion and rehabilitation.
Yeah, very nice. And obviously, a lot of us, but also officially, you were reviewed and approved as a good practice, also kind of by Interreg and the policy platform. So, from an outside perspective, we said this is definitely a good practice. But asking you, as maybe holder owner of this good practice, what makes you think that your good practice is a success? So how do you measure it, or what are for you kind of proof of evidence to say, yeah, I think we are on the right track, this seems to be pretty successful? So what do you think about that?
Yes, and I think the right term is holder, because it's a collaboration. So owner is not the right term for it, and I really want to stress the collaboration part of it. But returning to what are the success criteria for us? Yeah, one of the first success criteria was just to get the location working. I think that was a major success in itself, because it was coming from an idea which we had been working on for several years. So, but what do I mean by getting the location to work? It is especially seen from our point of view as researchers. We are going there. We have projects right now running. We are recruiting patients who are giving information and feedback to our research projects. We have managed to get a good collaboration with the general practitioners who are working there, and they support our research projects not only by participating but also interacting much more closely with us as researchers. And we have equipment stationed in the living lab, so not transporting the patients into the center at the hospital and the universities, but we are able to examine patients participating in research projects on site. And we have tried to do that before in other research projects, but it's very hard to, as a researcher, to go into a daily working clinic, and you are kind of disturbing the normal flow in the clinic when you're coming in with a research project. So now we have a location which is very close to the clinic, but it's not in the daily flow of the clinic. You could just go 2 meters and take another door, and then you'll be in a research facility where we can test the patients. They don't have to travel for several hours to come to a test center or something like that. So I think we have already seen a lot of things uh, indicating that this is a success for us. Of course, we would like to have even more success in having a research fund, attracting research funds for the continuation of the project. So still, it we are based on that we have the collaboration, and the Region North Denmark think that this is a good idea and support the facilities. We are not yet able to attract enough external funding for the facility to functioning on its own, and it's definitely a goal, but a longer goal.
Hmm. No, that's important. I think this is what so many of us are facing: sustainability of social innovations like yours, for instance. Yeah, to either bring it to a business model, but or other, let's say, financial schemes that that sustain, yeah, in also these good ideas for a longer period of time. So good luck with that, of course, and probably, hopefully, those international collaborations will also help to find sustainable financial schemes, and maybe other research projects, or involvement in international collaboration, maybe. Yeah, but definitely, I think this is a great success story. Um, but often we know success comes with pain. So at the end, there's success, and there's this wonderful success story. But we all know, oh, often it's a long journey, and we all do mistakes, and sometimes we take the wrong exits, and etc. So maybe you can also elaborate on those learnings. So what did you learn? So which problems did you face over the course of this journey, and maybe something we as listeners can learn from you, so that we don't have to do maybe do the same mistakes, or something, as learnings you would like to share with us and the listeners. That would be great.
Yes, and again, I would very much like to stress the collaboration. Without a strong collaboration, without the goodwill of the region North Denmark without good understanding from the university. And I think one of the struggles was really for us to see not only what's in it for us. It was obvious what we would like to do, why we think it was a good idea, but also selling the idea to why should the university as such think this is a good idea, and why should the region North Denmark think this is a good idea? Why should the general practitioner think this is a good idea? And having all these in, why should the patients think it's a good idea? Luckily, the patients like that this local arrangement and being nearby. So um, even though the patients are very important, they have not been participating directly into this. But I think one of the things that we could have done differently was bringing in patients and patient views at a much earlier point, and that I think could have even facilitated more that the region, which is responsible for healthcare for people in the region, that they would have liked to know what the people, normal people living in the area and participating in research project, what were their thoughts on it, and I think that could have facilitated it even more. So finding good collaboration, and uh, really trying to look into what's in it for each of the parts that are important to participate in this collaboration.
Okay, that's interesting. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I think a lot of us are struggling with user involvement and yeah, to shifting the resources to the right focus, and that's often a tough challenge to reach out to the right people, to ask the right questions, and to start this journey with the concrete needs and demands by certain user groups, and to connect that with our everyday work. So, yeah, very very interesting. And maybe since we are coming to an end, unfortunately, but maybe at the very end we can look into the future. So with all your experiences and having talked about your experiences and the long journey to your good practice, what are your wishes for the future? So what the plans? So how does your maybe living lab, the good practice, will evolve further? Do you have any plans for the future?
Yes, and you brought up sustainability, and that's really what we are looking into. We have to, of course, continuously prove that this is a success. But in order to be sustainable and in order to attract even more external funding for research projects, we need to broaden out the idea. We need one or two more locations, so we'll be large enough to have larger research projects going on. So we need to expand in order to be sustainable. If we expand, we will be able to attract more general practitioners, more clinics to participate into research, and we'll be able to attract more patients to participate into research. And in order to be attractive for external funding, it's very important to get the right size, and we are not there yet. So, in order to be sustainable, I think we need to expand, and that's also the plans for the coming years. And we would like to have one or two more locations.
And we are happy to follow with your progress in the future as well. I'm sure we will stay in contact. And for now, thank you so much, Janus, for being with us, to sharing your insights, your learnings, and your wonderful good practice with us. And it was great to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. We're happy to participate.
Great. And thank you, our listeners, for joining us as well. Be sure to check the show notes to see where you can find more information about living labs in a general practice at the Aalborg University Hospital. Maybe you can connect with Janus, and also maybe with Interact Europe and our ACSELL project. So It was good to have you with us on the show. Talk to you soon. ACSELL Cast is created by myself, Daniel Buhr, as well as Sandra Evans and Christine Hopkins.